Cindy can't be here today. She had something personal that she had to take care of, and so I am going to be running the webinar for today for our AT liaisons, all solo. And so today what we're going to talk about is AT considerations and the read and write updates and some resources as we go through our PowerPoint. We will send the PowerPoint out at the end of the session, probably tomorrow once we get the link for the recording. Just a quick question before I move on. I know Riza doesn't have a headset, but Christina and Quad, I'm going to clear the check marks. Are you using your headset and mic for this session? Okay, Qua has her headset. That's good. Okay. Christina, I guess, does not have her headset this time. That's fine. Just wanted to see if who would be able to contribute to the conversation through the mic or whether we're just going to use our chat. So our agenda for today. Yes, Riza, you could talk to Cindy to see whether we have an because you see her more often, about getting a headset so you can use that when we're doing our webinars. So our agenda for today, we're going to discuss the premium version and what's happening with that for our students with special needs, highlight some resources and the implementation of it, review our SETT process. Those of you who were with us last year, we did go over it a little bit in one of our sessions, but we're going to review that process, share some tools in considerations for AT, as well as give us some outreach for trainings and workshops that are going to occur in MCPS. Thank you, Christina, for thinking about the headset for next time. AT in Chrome, what's trending? So you should have gotten an email from Cindy and from your ITS that the read and write for Google extension, the premium version toolbar, should be accessible to our students with special needs or students with IEPs, grades 3 through 12, if they have one of the following accommodations on their IEP. So if they have text-to-speech, scribe, electronic word processor, spelling and grammar devices, or computer access tools, devices, and software. So any of those checked off on their IEP will automatically, the student will automatically get the premium version of the toolbar. So our students will be able to use that. So one of the things you can go is go check on that with some students that you know to see whether the bar is working. I did actually go out on the SETT console today, and it just popped up when I helped the student install the toolbar, the extension today. So it is working for some students, but we would like to get some feedback from you guys about if it's working for your students in your building. The free version of the toolbar is accessible to all students. It offers text-to-speech and translation functionality only. That's the free version. Teachers can get it as well, just like before, but we are noticing some quirkiness with it. And so we would like you guys, well, if you're new to the toolbar, because I know we introduced this last year, so most of our AT liaisons probably already had the toolbar. But if you're new to it, if you could follow our directions, and you'll get all the links from the PowerPoint, and try to install it and see whether it works for you. Okay, so Christina shared that it works for all her students except one. He's the only one without the premium. There is, when we send this out, there's a link that you can, the link right here where it says if you believe a student qualifies and for the premium version and they don't have it, you can put an inquiry here using this Google form. So once you get this PowerPoint, you'll be able to troubleshoot with them to figure out why that student doesn't have it already, okay? But one of the first things I'll have you check, Christina, is to just go back to the IEP accommodation pages and make sure that everything that was checked or the IEP is locked to make sure that that part is working and it's really a part for their process. Okay, you just checked. Very good. That way it doesn't come back and say it was on our end, but more on their end. We have some documentations here, a session for a recording, a webinar session about AT in the Chrome browser, presentations, support documents, a link to the comparison tool, a link to how teachers can register. If the student isn't showing up as a special ed student, then that would probably be the reason why he doesn't have the bar, because they're only doing students with IEPs. We have been getting questions about other students who have accommodations, but at this point, it is only students with IEPs that are part of the pilot for this school year and are getting the premium toolbar. So if you're a teacher and you haven't already downloaded and installed the extension, this is the link you would use to register as a teacher so you can get the free version. Christina, still go ahead and put in the form when I send the link so that they can work on that process in twofold, one with OSS and on the other end as well. I would say to do that still, okay? And so if you haven't done it yet, please go ahead and try it out and kind of document, because we've been having some issues with teachers. So when they sign up for the premium toolbar to get it for free, it's been taking a few days for it to actually show up all the features you're supposed to get on the toolbar. So if you haven't done it yet, this is going to be your first time installing it. Please go ahead and monitor how long it took for you to actually get all the premium features. The next webinar that's going to discuss it is going to be on November 3rd. So that's on PDO. So let's think about our favorite AT tool, UDL versus assistive technology. Which is it? So this is just our starting point in terms of thinking about sorry, I was just reading the chat. Okay. This is our starting point. We really want to start with UDL and instructional technology so that all students have it. And then when we're thinking about AT, which is really what the Read and Write toolbar is right now for our IEP students, we're considering assistive technology. It's specific on their IEP, and we're trying to meet their needs. It's not just about having instructional technology for all our students. So that's how we're looking at that toolbar from the Octo perspective. That's the reason why it's just for our IEP students. When we're getting started to consider our AT, we're looking at our student. We're looking at how they're performing in the classroom. If they're doing fine, then we don't need to worry about anything. The regular instruction and instructional technology that's taking place in the classroom is working for the student, and therefore AT isn't required. If the student is struggling, then we're looking at team solutions to come up with, and that's where the SETT framework comes in. We're going to talk a little bit more about it. And also, if the student has it already on their IEP, but maybe it's not working as well as you would like, then we think about resetting, so going through that same SETT process over again. And when we think about the SETT process, the most important thing to think about is a team process, just like the IEP development process is. You want a team that knows the student to come together and think about the student's abilities and needs, the environment the student is in, what tools are already available in that environment and how they're currently using it, what tasks the student is having difficulty completing. So like the SETT I went on today the student had great difficulty completing written tasks because he has CP, and there are Chromebooks and computers available to him. It's a reset process because we do know that speech-to-text works for him, but the tool that they were currently using, he wasn't able to use it correctly and get accurate results when he was using his speech-to-text feature. And so when we went in and discussed it with the student, as the student gets older, you really want to consider including them in that team process, just like we do in the IEP team process, because working with him, I was able to figure out it's just the way he was talking. He was talking too fast for the computer to pick up all his language, so we had to slow him down, you know, and get him to understand why he needed to talk a little bit slower and in phrases so the computer had time to register everything he was saying. And so that's one of the things that happens when you do the SETT process. You're able to brainstorm and figure out what the student really needs and what really needs to go in his IEP. So it still stays speech-to-text, but we've figured out how he's able to use it more effectively. I was very happy today that he is able to use that. And so this is an example of what we would fill out. We have the student strengths and needs. We document where the student is, all the relevant information, the environment the student is in, especially what technology is available to the student in the classroom or in that environment, what tasks he's having difficulty completing and how they're currently using it, and then what possible tools, and then we come up with a question that we want to ask. And sometimes we go in to a trial based on that question. Has anybody been through, put a check mark, has anybody been through the SETT process with one of us? Okay, yeah, Christina has. And Qua hasn't. Okay. All of this should sound familiar. What were some outcomes that you guys had from the SETT process in yours? Why don't you use the chat, since I don't think everybody has their mic today, to just put in your thoughts about what happened with the SETT process when you had one of the Hyatt team out. Okay, great. Thanks, Christina. Was the student able to use whatever technology or strategy was recommended during that process? How did things work out? I like that, Riza, in saying that you felt like the teacher didn't take enough ownership. And that's what part of that process is, trying to get everybody involved to take ownership. In this particular case, the one I was referring to, I was dealing with the 11th grader. So really, I was trying to get him to be more independent with his tool. But depending on the age of the student, we need our teachers to also be able to take ownership of the process and help teach the student. Okay, so you did the process, not formally, Qua, but you were part of that for a student who was able to use the speech-to-text because of her slow typing skills. That's good. Well, thank you for the feedback. And yeah, sometimes when we go out on a SETT and have to work with schools, it's a toss-up sometimes where I want to focus my energy. If it's an older student, I sometimes focus my energy on having the student own the process. If the adults in the process want that outcome more. Making it happen. It really can't happen without that whole team idea. We have a link here that takes you to this whole process. So if you don't always have to put a consult request out. One of the things that we would like schools to do is actually go out to our website, look at that process, and do a preliminary one in their building. And if they still can't figure it out, then call us out to do that process. Or if they still need help with implementation or thoughts about getting this done, then putting in a request for us to come out to work with the students so that schools can start taking ownership on trying to figure out what appropriate AT is for a student. So we have forms and everything there, how to do the trial, and documentation. The key is documentation to support your decision and asking a question about how it's improved that process for the student. Like the student has improved in some way. It doesn't have to be the student did great, leaps and bounds, but if they had some improvement and if we continue working along with the student, they may have more. So that's what we're looking for. And another thing to consider is we may know that a student needs, let's say, they're reading below grade level. We're trying to figure out what accommodation is going to work best. So under the response accommodation in our IEP, the student can have a human reader, the student can have an audio recording, the student can have text-to-speech. And you're trying to figure out which one of those is the best accommodation for that student. And we have a tool called Protocol for Accommodations in Reading that can help you determine which one gives the best benefit for the student. And so if this is something that you've been working with or struggling with, this is something that we can help you set up in your building, and you can do a few students at a time. It's actually an online protocol, and it works on the Chromebooks as well as PCs. It's a web-based tool, so you can have students go out, take the protocol. It's kind of like a little test. You can see it in that way, or an assessment, and you're able to compare how the student did with an audio recording, text-to-speech, and also with them reading on their own, and see what their improvement is and how close they get to grade level with either one of those tools, so you know which one is the best tool. Just with a check mark, has anybody had the UPAR done in their building or the PAR done in their building with anybody? Any teacher? See X's? No? Okay, so that's something you may want to think about. If you want to figure out what's going to be the best tool, as the student gets older, the human reader also, even if the student performed best with the human reader, is not the most practical accommodation or the most independent accommodation. So then you're looking at, okay, they like a better sounding voice. So let's think about what tool we can use to get them to use maybe text-to-speech a little bit more. You can do it with any grade level, as long as the student is reading at some level. So if the student is at the pre-primer level, probably not. But if the student is definitely reading anywhere between, from K1 up, you can use the tool. Thank you, Riza, for that question. Another tool to consider is our written productivity profile. That was what it was called previously, but now it's called the DeCoste writing protocol. And that's when you want to make decisions about whether the student needs a scribe, word processor, spell check, grammar. Do they need word prediction? Which one of these things are going to help them improve their writing responses that they're doing? So you're trying to make informed decisions about what writing strategy is going to support the student in this, instruction. So the tool was revised, I believe, last year. Don't hold me on that. I believe it was last school year. But what you do in that protocol, it's like a formative assessment that you do with the student. I usually, when I do this one-on-one with the student. Unlike the youth, I will tell you where the resources are located in a minute, Christina. The tool, the UPAR, I can do a group of students at the same time because everybody has their computer and they're just doing the assessment on their own. When I do the writing protocol, I actually do like to do it one-on-one because I like to observe what the student is doing. So anecdotal data gives me a lot of information about how the student writes or thinks about writing. But the first thing we do is a timed handwriting test and timed keyboarding for that comparison. A lot of times I don't always do the spelling, depending on the student, but we definitely do an extended writing to see how their handwriting works along the way. So we do these different assessments to kind of get a picture of this child's writing and the comparison between how fast they handwrite and how fast they type, and how legible their handwriting is as well. So we look at all of that and analyze it to kind of make a decision about what we need to do to support that. And so when this PowerPoint goes out, all these are active links that's going to take you to more information about conducting this. And if you need support, you can always ask Cindy or I, and we can come out and help you if there's a student that you're thinking about to try to get that more information on. Sometimes my decision is typing is still going to be better for the student, or speech to text, or some along those lines. But if it's typing and it's because their typing is slow, sometimes we have to consider how we're going to build that student's typing speed as well. And so it's just gives you an idea of where that student is in this process, in the writing process of getting things down. But it does not give you information mostly about composition of writing, so to speak. But it's good to do this with whoever the teacher is that's supporting writing in the classroom. I know in elementary the teachers, they do everything, but in secondary, you definitely want to work with the English teacher or the reading teacher or whoever is supporting the student in Gen Ed with writing to kind of map out the whole picture on the student. So I'm going to stop for a moment right there and ask if anybody has any questions before we kind of go into professional development opportunities that are available. Does anybody have anything they would like to contribute to this process? And you can just put it in the chat. So we have a few things. One that's coming up next week, November 2nd, which is the Special Education Para. We have a session that Cindy and I are doing about UDL and AT. So if you can share that with your paras, so if they haven't already signed up, that would be great. Oh, that's good, Kwa, about sharing that. Yeah, I often use parts too. Sometimes not all of it, Riza, not all of it is pertinent, and you can break it up into different parts and think about what comparison you want to make with the writing protocol. I think with the Google voice typing that's out there, a lot more students are going to be using speech recognition to help support their writing because it's so accessible now. On November 4th, we're going to do speech recognition and how to use it. All secondary schools have received or should be receiving, as well as the fact that you have all these speech recognition options within Google, you're actually also going to get Dragon. So this session is going to explain all your different options with speech recognition. And then on November 17th, this is going to be a face-to-face workshop, AT in the Chrome browser at CTI. And the November 19th is a reschedule from October that didn't take place. So we are going to have another session then. Just want to remind everybody that you can create an AT Liaison folder in your Outlook. And if you go to our Google folder, you'll see the instructions about how to do that. It helps you not get swamped with emails that are going back and forth and read them when you want. So just having them move automatically is great. You may want to set up Outlook reminders on your calendar about when you're going to send information out to your people in your building. And don't forget to put your signature option, and you can insert that you are an Assistive Technology Liaison. Be proud. Links to our resources that I was talking about. Okay, Christina had a question about how people are sending information out. The last person that I spoke to, they are sending it out through email a lot of times. You're posting it to private, but you're not sure if people are receiving the information. That is because you can't always figure out who's read it and who hasn't. I think a lot of people are doing what you're doing, which is to put it in private. I think everybody is determining when they send the emails out or post it in private. What's happening in other schools when you send it? Becky or Kwa? What are you guys doing? I think Kwa had a mic. Okay, so you have a team Google Classroom. That's a good idea, Kwa. Thanks for sharing. Becky's been posting. And I really like that team Google Classroom idea, depending on how into Google your team is in your building. Yes, you can copy parts, Riza, you can copy parts of our presentation or PowerPoint to post. That's perfectly fine. Okay, that's good. Your school is definitely moving towards the Google team environment. That's really great. We have a Google Share folder where a lot of our information will be posted. And also remember that Brenda Brown sends out UDL Tips of the Week, which you can always share. Yes, Kwa is a middle school teacher. I'm just answering because I saw the question and I knew the answer. So you can definitely go to our Google Share folder, and we post all our information there as well. Google Classroom is available to anybody, so it's in elementary school as well. Maybe Kwa can share some information with you or post some information to our team about how they're using Google, if there are any Google Classroom, if there are any directions or advice you can give about how that works. Okay, we're coming to an end. I think we're coming close to an end for our time. Okay. So your ITS person in your building is the person who can help you. But you can definitely email those two and they'll tell you what to do next. Okay, our next webinar is November 24th. So hopefully that's a good date for people, but as we always do, what are the topics? We're still thinking about it. If you have a topic you would like us to do, we can definitely do that, Christina. Cindy and I haven't brainstormed yet what our topic is going to be for November, but please feel free to send us some ideas if there's something you would like to know more about, anybody who's participating, because we would like to meet your needs as best as possible. I'm sure there are a lot of things out there that could probably meet your needs, but kind of center it around a topic. Okay, reading fluency or speech to text. Okay. We'll see whether we can post and see if people want to talk a little bit more about that. and bring that in. Thank you, Christina, for that suggestion for a topic for next time. Okay, so are there anything else that anybody would like to discuss while we have other people on the line that maybe can support based on what's happening in your building? Anything you would like to share before we close out for today? Oh, most commonly used AT. That's a good idea. Yeah, we're really happy that the Read and Write toolbar is available for our students this year. It definitely took a lot longer than we would like, but at least it's available and working. And so far, we've gotten a good response from the kids. Love it, great. With all the tools that are on there and teacher use of it for the classroom. The kid that I was talking about, oh, not enough headphones. You know, a lot of times media specialists have some, well, maybe not this year because of the budget freeze, but they do have some funds that they can use to be able to buy things like headsets. So hopefully, if the freeze is lifted, you'll be able to do that. But at the secondary level, a lot of times our kids like to use their own headsets, so maybe that's something that kids can bring in. Yeah, they bring their own in. Sometimes parents even like that better. So they have their own that they're using rather than something that has to be cleaned every night. Yeah, more hygienic. That's correct. If I was a parent with a little kid, I think I would prefer having my kid have their own headset than using one provided by school. So I can see that being yes, I can see that being something that parents won't mind buying and letting to have the kids use in the classroom. Larger screens with Chrome, not centrally. If that's something that comes out as a need for a student, the school definitely would be the ones that would have to buy it. They do have different Chromebooks that have greater, bigger screens, but I'm not sure about how that's going to work. Had a vision teacher come in and set up a magnification feature on the Chromebook. Yeah, there is a magnification feature on it. It does have some accessibility. Is that something people would like to know more about? You can put a check box and we can see about having a vision person give us some more information about those sort of features that can help students. Oh, Claude just put in what the keystroke is, which I like. Oh, a laptop loaner. Well, no, we'd like to have somebody, because maybe we can just put together something where we can talk about what some of the easy ways are to support students with vision needs. Because not everybody qualifies for vision services, but it doesn't mean they don't have some vision needs. So the more teachers know about how they can just use some of those accessibility features would be better. So maybe that's something Cindy and I will consider as a topic for one of our webinar sessions, just all the accessibility features within a Chromebook for supporting different students. So, and thanks for the name so I know where to start when we need support. Any other topics that have come up in your buildings that maybe we need to think about in terms of brainstorming? I know there are a lot of issues with slides, not having any text-to-speech features built in. That's a Google issue. At this point with the budget freeze, not very likely. Things are very tight at this point in time, but we'll definitely keep you in mind. All right, everyone. It's almost approaching 5 o'clock. I know sometimes we go for an hour, but we don't need to. Just feel free to email Cindy and I anytime you need anything. If you have a student that you would like more specialized support in, you can always go to the Hyatt website and fill out a consult request. We have people who do that all the time. And please give us some feedback. I know with this change in school time, Cindy and I are trying to work out what is the best time to start the webinar that's going to reach the most people. So feel free to give us some feedback on what you guys think is a good time. It's been a little difficult this year because schools are different, bus times are different, and things aren't working out as well as it worked out for us last year doing it around this time in terms of getting people available to be able to do the webinar. Okay, I have 2 people who say this is a good time for them. And they happen to primarily, Riza, you primarily work in elementary school too, right? You primarily work in elementary school. Okay, Kwa said this is a good time. That's not bad. And for you too, Becky. Okay. You can use it as flex time. You just put it in, and it's definitely a PLC type activity. I believe this can count towards your flex time that you're doing in your school buildings. Okay, you like the format of the webinars. That's good. We like the format of the webinars too. Just as an update, we're still trying to get some funding for us to be able to do at least one face-to-face this school year, more towards the spring semester. So wish us luck in trying to get some money that will let us all come together, because we do have some new people, and it would be nice if everybody was able to at least meet each other once to help the collaboration process. Thank you all for attending today, and we'll see you at the next webinar. You have a wonderful evening too.